Hi guys, welcome back to Media One TV. So today we are at Ndiziflix, meeting the man behind Ndiziflix itself. Maybe you can just start by introducing yourself.
My name is Samora, Ndi. I'm a filmmaker, an entrepreneur, and I live in this town, Kisii.
Okay, about filmmaking, how would you say that the film industry is currently in Kisii?
In Kisii? In Kisii, I'd say it's a bit slow. The last, let's say several months actually, we've been a bit on a slow, not a go slow really, but it's been a bit slow in Kisii for a minute. But generally in Kenya, because I'd like to say that we are local filmmakers, we just happen to be based in Kisii, but we're Kenyan filmmakers. So it's not like we are limited to a film. We don't have a different film industry in Kisii than the one in Kenya. Yeah. So and of course the film sector in Kenya generally is very vibrant lately, especially with the interest of Showmax and Netflix in working with local producers to come up with original productions for their platforms. That has been exciting the last 1 year or so, and we're looking forward to see how that goes.
Okay, maybe we could just go back to the beginning. How did you come to decide I want to do local shows?
Oh yeah, well, that's a long journey. That takes me back very many years. How I ended up even being a filmmaker is that when I think I was 17 or 18 thereabout, I happened to watch a local movie produced by Judy Kibinge, one of the premier filmmakers in the country. A Kenyan film called Dangerous Affairs. It's a long time ago. It's a movie ya kitambo sana. So I watched that. Before that, I didn't know that it's possible to make a Kenyan movie. Before that, I najua the Tanzania. At that time, I think older people like our director behind the camera might remember. There's a time we had movies like Shoot Me Later from Tanzania, where we started to make some progress in filmmaking. And in terms of Kenyan productions, we knew the drama series on TV, like the Vitindi and Tabasamu. There were some really nice local shows, but they were for TV. So I didn't know that you can actually make your own production, as an independent filmmaker. So when I watched that movie, I realized, oh, okay, so this is possible. At that time, I was in Form 3. In high school, and that's when I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Because before that, I used to write a lot of screenplays. Like I write stage plays. I used to write drama scripts for my school. So I knew I had an interest in the drama genre in general, and I thought I was going to be a writer, author, in that route. But now when I realized that I can actually convert what I was writing to become visual, that's when I met the love of my life. And so from then, I started making movies straight away. I actually quit high school.
You quit high school?
People don't know this part of the story.
People took
I found what I was looking for. I want to be a filmmaker. So I kind of stopped going to school. There was like a small TV station in town here in Kisii called the New Star TV. And I kind of just made friends with the people, the students there, because mostly it was run by students who are students of journalism or something like that. So I would just hang out with them and see what they were doing and go with them to the field. That's how I learned. I just started learning from them how to edit and stuff like that unofficially. And so when I went, somehow my mother met me after almost a year.
After quitting school?
Yes, she convinced me to go back and finish my KCSE, which I did. And then after that I met a friend of mine called Steve Momanyi, who's a very good actor, one of my favorite and long-term actors. So we went back to the village where we come from and we started making movies there. So we used to make short films in the village and people had no idea what we were doing. And
so just a question, back in the village, what were you using to make these films? Were you using phones? Do you have money for cameras?
At those days we didn't have phones that can shoot like nice videos. Because this is a long time ago. This was in 2000 and that will be 2000 and I want to say 2008, 2009, thereabout. We were pretty much kids. So what happened, ukimaliza high school in Kenya, those days, the first thing ilikuwa unaenda kusomea computer packages.
Yeah.
That was the thing, yeah. So it happened that when tulikuwa tunaenda kusomea computer packages, they also had a studio where they take photos, passport photos, and they would also do video coverage for musicians, stuff like that. So the guy there had a small camcorder, it's like a tape. kufungua hivyo naweka tape na nafungwa na record. So but now tulikuwa tunasomea computer packages, but we were pretty much ahead of our time. So by that time, tulikuwa mambo ya kwenda kwa site in town and stuff like that. So we knew how to operate computers. We were even better than our teacher in that, when I got to kufundisha in that school. So most of the time we just go there we just love the idea of having a computer, typing things and designing things and stuff like that. So when we found a camera, we started now editing the stuff for mazishi. Jamaa alikuwa na shoot, because normally what he used to do, he will shoot the mazishi back in the village and later to sit down for editing. So now we started doing it for him. So that's how we practiced on how to edit. And then now when the camera was free, we will use it to shoot our short films. So we'll shoot it and I think I have 1 or 2 skits of those. I'll be the cameraman and then I'll be the actor. I started as an actor. I know Nyanduku might not believe this, but I was an actor at that time. Yeah, but it was fun, and that's how we started. And then luckily, after almost 2 years of struggling with my parents to convince my parents that film production is a thing, because at that time they didn't even know what that was. Yeah, so they said, if you really want to, if you love this camera things and TV things, go and study journalism. But I already known that I don't want to study journalism itself. I wanted film specifically, and there was only one university in Kenya at that time offering film production. So it took a little bit of a struggle to convince my parents, but finally I managed to go and study film production at the Multimedia University, which, that's officially became a professional filmmaker. That was after almost, but by that time I'd been making short films for like almost 4 years.
Oh, that's so nice. And just to ask now, how did Ndiziflix come to be?
So when I was at Multimedia University, I already knew from day one of reporting, I knew I was not there for the papers. I knew exactly what I wanted to do even after. So I just wanted the skills. I just knew I need to learn how to operate big cameras and to have access. Because even on the media, on the advertisements they are done on newspapers, they say they have a very nice state-of-the-art studio, the best in East and Central Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go there so I can use those equipment to make my movies, not really to learn, the school stuff. I just wanted access to better equipment. So I think the moment I got there, within the first semester, when people were still learning, how to name parts of a camera and stuff like that, I was already, making friends with the third years and stuff like that, and getting it, because as a first year you were not allowed to check out a camera. You call it checking out a camera. So I had to make friends with the third years, and then I'll have someone check out a camera for me, then I'll go and shoot my stuff. Yeah, so and the plan was, so I started at that time, my brand was called 254 Films. So and I had a website. So the idea was, during the week I'll produce a short film, either to be a documentary, a drama, or a magazine show or something like that. And then on Saturday, at that time YouTube was not a thing in Kenya per se. Okay? But I had a website, then I'll stream it. There was a whole complicated process on how you can stream and then share it with people to view that.
Were the videos in Kisi at that time?
No, at that time I was trying to make movies like Hollywood. So everything was English, and we were trying to make movies exactly like Hollywood. So I did that for a minute, and until after college I was still making movies in English for a long time. Most of my first movies, especially all my projects I did while in school, all of them were in English. I never even thought that, the idea of Kikisi movies was not even a thing. Or even Kiswahili, when upcoming, where unaweza kufanya vitinga, Yeah, so, so later, much later, I had a mentor. I attended a few events for Kenyan filmmakers and producers, and I met this guy. His name was George. George Oweru became my mentor. I told me he saw the passion I had, and he was a film distributor. So one day he asked me, so I showed him, I'd done a pilot for a TV series. I told him, I want to sell this. I want TV in big show. Then he told me, when whatever you are doing, you are competing with the rest of the world. You're competing with people who have high budgets. You're competing with Hollywood who are spending $10 million per scene. And so when you're producing movies in English, you're actually competing with what Nigerians are doing, South Africans are doing. Do you think you can actually compete with that? And he gave me the example of even my role model at that time, who was Judy Kibinge. He told me, do you know how much money and connections that Judy Kibinge has for her to make the kind of movie that you see her produce? And I realized that they actually have a lot of money. Like they making a movie in Kenya at that time, you needed like 10 million shillings or something like that for you to make a movie. And I was trying to make movies in a budget, yeah, 15,000, down to 20,000, you know, because I thought, because I have a camera, I have students who are my actors and stuff, you can make these movies for cheap.
Bila stress.
Bila stress, yeah. So, but now when you do this, you are competing with everyone else. But now you ask me, how many filmmakers do you know from Kisii? I only knew one, and this one I knew him because he was a lecturer of film at my University at the same school, and I'd seen his movie when I was at St. Anne's because he was also a lecturer at St. Anne's. So I had seen his movie that he had done, so I knew also his name is Nathan Bronzer Siago, is still a lecturer. So I knew this one guy, but his movies were also in English. So he told me, yeah, so that's number one. So there's no other filmmaker that you know who's making any movies in Kisii. And do you know any content in your language? I said, no. Then he gave me the example of the Kikuyu community. At that time, River Road was a big thing. They used to pirate movies, like piracy was on, like they used to make this, you know, this comedy, unapata mtu amejipaka choka hivi, those kind of comedy, alafu funny, you know, you dramatize really exaggerated acting, but they used to sell a lot. So he gave me some inside information, and he told me, those years are actually making millions of shillings off of Kikuyu comedy at that time. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And then what I did, I said, I don't think that's my route, because I want to go to Bollywood. And so me telling me to start making things in my vernacular, where would I get vision young? But because he's my mentor, and I think this is one of the things that I have, and I've done this a few times, and I give myself credit for, that sometimes I take advice even if it's against my own logic. If I learn to listen, I think that's one thing I'm good at. So I gave him that, benefit, little benefit of doubt. Am I there? Because you're my mentor and you've asked me to do this, I want to respect you, that you are smart. Even the reason why you are my mentor, I have trusted that you know what you're saying, you know your stuff. So I was like, okay, let me just do this one thing just to impress him. So the next time, anaona namsikizanga ndiye nitafutie, mimi nataka nitafutie deal ya kupeleka movie show, and hiyo time Mnet mimi nataka connection. I was like, let me impress him, then he can see that I can do whatever I want to do. So I wrote a script for a short film. So it's called Enyongo ya Lawa. It's in Kikisi. For those who don't understand French, it's called My Grandmother's Pot. So I made that. It was my first production. It was purely in Kikisi, and it ended up being one of my favorite productions up to date.
Why?
One, because of course it won a few awards. Number one, it received recognition beyond my circle. Because before that, all my movies were being watched by my friends. Yeah. But now that I think we did it, and somehow it just stood out. We screened that at a few events, and even at county events. Your time, I think your county county government, of course, we screened it, and people actually thought, this is really interesting. This is really nice. And I think I got addicted to that recognition that you're doing some really nice stuff we didn't know people can actually do. And actually, I was like, oh, okay, then I'll do more. Because at that time, again, we really needed to be recognized for people to know what we were doing. So we stood out with that. So we started making more PC content. I made a few more, and all of them were actually fun. And now this is maybe something else that I'd encourage someone else out there who's a content creator. Find something that you enjoy doing. Because I think the only reason why I've been making KKC content up to this long, it's because it's so much fun to make. Because speaking in our vernacular and our jokes and the hidden meanings in things and how we say things, it's always hilarious on set. Like you don't need encouragement to hang out with my actors when you're making a KKC movie. It's just fun to make.
And how do you find these actors? Is there some challenge when especially Gen Z? I know that most Gen Zs don't know their local dialects.
I will answer that, but let me say. So once we started that, we did that for a while, and then, but now the challenge was, I was still spending a lot of money to make movies, and I was not making money from the movies. My mentor introduced me to his friend, who was one of the producers in the Kikuyu comedy stuff. His name is Mr. John Karanja. He told me, let me link you up with one of these guys who are making these movies for River Road. You see, what is it we are doing differently. Finally what happened, I went to this studio and I worked there for almost 2 years, 1.5 years actually, for free. I was not getting paid just because I wanted to learn how they were doing their thing, like how you're able to make movies. Because then they make one movie in a day. That was weird because by that time I used to spend even like 15 days, 17 days to make one movie. And you know what, the more days you spend on set, the more money. So my budgets were just produced. So I was like, how can you make one movie in a day? So I went to kind of intern for free at his studio. And I was his cameraman, I was his editor, directing sometimes and stuff like that, and meeting other producers from his studio who are using his studio to produce. I learned how they were doing their stuff and how they could manage to make movies low budget but high quality. Okay? And that's another thing again for the content creators. Don't try to be Bollywood. Focus on doing something that you can easily do. Nowadays we have very good phones. At least, and if one of come up around your circle, hakuna mtu akona iPhone, hiyo circle ikusaidie. At least you need to have at least one friend in your circle who has a good phone. If you are a content creator, just find a way, okay? And preferably they don't need to be content creators themselves, so that they don't, charge you or something like that, or feel that you're inconveniencing them, so that you can use your phone, whether you're creating content for TikTok or for Instagram or just nice selfies for your WhatsApp status, if that's what you want to influence. But always, nowadays it's a lot easier to access a decent enough phone that can shoot high quality. Yeah? So focus on content that is easy to shoot. If you want to become a vlogger or because I think that's one of the things that have been in the trending, although nowadays you must find a podcast. But don't think that now because this influencer is traveling to Diani, to hiking Mount Kenya, you have to do that for you to be a content creator. If you're in the village, create content in that village. How about wherever you are, find a way that is low cost. That way you can be sustainable. Because that's the other very important thing about content creation, is that you have to find a way to be consistently, accessible. Your content, you need to churn out content on a consistent basis for a long time for it to make sense. Yeah, so which is now that's something I learned about from John Karanja on how to do that. So while I was there, we started a brand called Ndizi. So by now, YouTube was becoming a thing in Kenya. Now this is 2018, the beginning of 2018, or 2017, towards the end of 2017. But officially, we started creating. That's my friend Steve, who was my actor from the village. We agreed, let's actually do this for fun. We enjoy doing this. By that time, now by that time I'm actually a good cameraman. I'm getting paid to shoot a few shows for PT1 and for a few other shows like Kuyu and stuff like that. So I was also a wedding photographer. So I could make money away from film. Yeah. And Steve was also doing set books and stuff like that, so we were making money. We could pay our rent. So we said, then let's do this TTC content for fun. So we started that brand called Ndizi. First it was on YouTube, and we said, let's do a few episodes. What was Pokeaji? And surprisingly, I think we did first like 3 episodes on Facebook. They had hundreds of thousands of views. I think tulifanya episode 1 tukasema ikipata kitu 5k views tutoa ingine. Within I think less than 48 hours ilikuwa na 70,000 views, and then within 1 week imepata 300,000 views. So tukaanza kuzitoa zingine. I think we had by the time to months episode 10, we had a couple of episodes that had more than 1 million views, na za kikisi. We're like, this is weird. We don't. At that time, I thought that we were Kisii million more. That was not a thing we had never even thought about. But then we realized that we had gotten into a niche that no one else was catering to. No one else was producing that kind of content and making it available online, the way we want. And we were like, okay, this could actually become a thing. So we moved to YouTube, we started creating content on YouTube, and it took us a minute. But by the end of 2019, it was my full-time job. I was like, okay, this thing is working. We're getting millions of views on YouTube every month, and so it became a thing. So now there's a question you had asked. What was the question?
I'd asked you about your actors. How do you get them, considering that Gen Z mostly don't know their local dialect?
So I think one thing I was lucky about is that my best friend was an actor. So I always knew I have a main actor. So watu wengine mnaweza kuja tu mjaji hizo roles zingine. So that so having Steve made it so easy for me. So because we only started to act as Steve and I did call Naomi Kemto, who people know as Kemto actress. So we started with just the two actors. So the first like 10 episodes, they were, I think like the first 6 episodes, we just those two. And then later we were like, okay, let's make the story more interesting. We need a few more. So who do you know? Oh, no, they might come and I So we did an audition. We had like 10 actors. Then I would call them from time to time on. So we did auditions at that time. And so with time, and one thing I think that has really worked for me, I stick with my actors for a long time. So the moment I realized that you are a good actor, you have the discipline, you understood, because most of the, one major thing, especially with these Gen Zs and Gen Xs, discipline ndio hakuna. Mtu anataka tu ingie YouTube leo na kesho kutwa apate brand deal na Smirnoff, alipe kwenda fly to South Africa to do things, So once I get an actor who has the discipline and understands that this thing, it might look easy when we do it, but it's an actual job. And you have to put work into this. I stick with those actors for a long time, especially my fans of Kiwakubali. I stick with them for a long time. So that's what I've been doing. I've worked last was it I think like 3 months ago. We had a get together and wanted to call our actors because we were trying to rebrand now to build the studio that we're calling Ndiziflix. So we wanted to call all the actors that we work with just to have a get together, thank them for all the support, and then share with them the vision of where we want to go. And I wrote a list of the actors that I've worked with, and actually realized that I've worked with almost 70 actors. And I think because sometimes unafanya kazi na mtu for like 4, 5 months or 6 months, and then you have to go to school, some get married, some fly out of the country, some so some have been coming and going, but I've worked with quite a number. So, but even when those many come and go, when you find those who are good and who are available, we stick together. And of course, from time to time we do auditions, but most of the time nowadays I don't prefer auditions per se. If you tell me you're a good actor, I'll just tell you, send me a video clip of yourself. So I want to see if you can be creative and at the same time, like, do you understand what we do? Kuna mtu anajichocha anaweza kuwa actor, lakini hata ukimwambia tushika simu hivi nichekesha basi for 30 seconds ama just act, show me something, you can tell. I think that's one thing I'm also good at. I can tell when it's talent here. So and then if there is, then we organize and have an actual audition here in studio or when we have content auditions from time to time.
Okay, and maybe could you tell us the challenges you're facing in the film industry as a filmmaker, as a script writer?
Yeah. So the main challenge I'd say for me has been peer pressure. Mine has been peer pressure in this sense. So we create content, you have actors, but then the challenge, so actually the challenge is not even me, it's really the challenge my actors have, because personally I don't have that challenge, but I've had to deal with the idea of we do our job very well and we make actors very famous. Alafu sasa kuna ile kuwa famous na hauna do. Because money takes time to come, but unaweza trend even in 2 days. We can even say you want to find unaweza fanya skit hapa na trend. Now with TikToks and other things, you can trend like you never even know. Like it can be a 1-day thing or a 1-week thing, yeah. But now the thing is, you're that famous and then ukunje, people start having expectations of you because wamesema si Diana Bahati wametrend wao wamejenga nyumba ya 30 million na wamenunuliana gari yeah. So these actors start thinking, but we're also doing the same thing, also creating content for YouTube. How come we're not buying houses and buying Range Rovers? So that pressure, unapata hiyo pressure from family, from friends, or like maybe ni kama hiyo producer wenu, ni kama kuna kitu waambie vizuri. Ndio hapa content wengine wanatoa hiyo pesa kama because mulama anatoa pesa na nyinyi mnafanya the same thing and you're getting fairly the same number of views and stuff like that. And that has been a challenge, especially working from TC, because then we don't, most of the time we don't get to have the same kind of deals and brand deals as easily as maybe someone who's based in Europe and stuff like that. So your peer pressure of then how do you manage this person? I'm unapata ni one of your actors has become very famous, especially the girls. Attention starts to flock to them. People from Watoto, Minnesota and stuff like that. We love them. They have been of great support to us. msichana anaanza kuchanganyikiwa, mtu anamwambia si wachana hiyo mambo ya acting, nipeleke Minnesota ama nipeleke Kisumu, ama mmepanga shoot, unasikia msichana amepelekwa date mahali ama kijana amepelekwa CJ amenunuliwa pombe hawezi kuja set, you're like, well, so some of those challenges that come with managing the fame that comes with it, I think hizo ndio some challenge, but otherwise the other things like saa zingine hakuna pesa, that one you manage to know how to go about it, because it's just be disciplined and do the work, and also being diverse, because I think one thing that I really enjoy about my job is that today we can do content about politics, and tomorrow we can do content about farming, and then we can do content about Jesus Christ. It's so diverse that we never get bored. I never get bored with my work. And then I have really good actors. I really do. I have very good actors, so they make it fun. They make it easy for me to think up things like they'll find me, and they'll be very flexible to play that. Yeah.
And could you just tell us, those who want to venture into the film industry, what can you advise them to do?
Don't.
Why?
Don't.
You don't want people to join you?
No, actually don't. Because here's the thing, and I'm very serious about this. If you are thinking that you might want to venture into, then don't. Because that means that you have an option. Inamaanisha ni kama una way options, please don't, because content creation in general, especially filmmaking, but content creation in general can be, it's a lot of work. And unajua kama ukitaka kuwa mwalimu, the moment ukipata TSC number, ukiingia kwa system hivi upate shule, you probably have a job for life.
Yeah.
Most of the time, kama ni waskai, ukisha pass out, umekuwa posted, most likely you are assured for life, like hauna challenges. The only thing that could happen is that mshahara itaongezwa. Mshahara watu hairudi chini. Kama ni daktari, most of these other jobs, the moment umeingia ni hivyo, you're done. So if you have that option, please do. We need the money, we need that financial stability, yeah? But content creation, we have to work every day. The moment ukilala tu kidogo hivi kwa wiki mbili, watu wanakusa. Kwanza Wakenya wanakusahau in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like mtu mmoja ana trend hivi kidogo, ama mtu ambaye kuchangamsha na zile video zingine wanamwanga na kuchangamsha nazo, your content inasahaulika hivyo, watu wameenda Telegram. They don't care about your content. Ama watu wanaweza hata kupasha for nothing. Saa zingine ni Kenyans are very interesting people. Mtu anaweza amua yeye content yake ni comment section. So yeye anaamua tu kuchangamkia tu hapo because ana job nyingine hapo tu hapo. And if you don't have that thick skin, to keep persisting when the money is not there, when there's a lot of hate speech ama trolls online, if you don't have that thick skin to kustahimili, you wouldn't make it. So if you have an option of doing something else, please go and do that other thing. Please, if you have that option, please go. But the only people I always look out for, and I'm always supporting, which is also maybe I'll mention it why we even have this studio now.